stuff now. I don't know if you guys have ever played it.
Yeah.
It's tiles. I've never played it. Is it fun?
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay. Well, anyway, it was huge in the 1920s. Crossword puzzles. I know. You guys probably go home every night and do the crossword puzzles. Just kidding. I do. Not really. Okay. Anyway, mahjong was popular during this time period, and then, as I said, crossword puzzles. Also, the New Yorker was founded. It was a publication, like a magazine, that came out that was, had, I can't really explain it, but it was popular during this time period. But the most weird thing, and if you watch some of these videos, is this thing called, have you ever heard of pole sitting? Have you? All right, check this one out. I don't know who decided to do this, but somebody climbed up a flagpole and sat on it. Now they would get little pieces of wood or whatever, and they would balance and they would sit on there, and then all of a sudden somebody else goes, I want to try that. All right? And so all of a sudden, there was a fad where people started sitting on flagpoles. And then they said, well, how long can we do it? What's the Guinness Book World of Records on how long this can be done? And so, of course, they had a contest and everybody started doing it. And I don't know, somebody was up there for a couple days, So it's in the, I'd have to look it up, I don't know how long. But, I mean, was there a little too much time on your hands, that you have to climb a pole and sit on it? I don't know. So, but that was one of the fads during the 1920s. Lucky Lindy. Not so lucky, actually, in the end. So Lucky Lindy was who? Charles Lindbergh. What did he do? Flew across the Atlantic, New York to Paris. Okay? And, of course, survived. Who didn't survive later? Amelia Earhart. She tried to do the same thing, and she was trying to circumvent the world, but she got... She disappeared. Yeah, she disappeared. They actually think they found her some of her stuff on an island, a remote island. Actually, they didn't find her, but they found some of her things. So, and I believe that was in the Pacific, because she was on her way back. Anyway, so Charles Lindbergh, famous flight. If you go to the not Greenfield Village, but Henry Ford Museum, you can actually see a replica, an exact replica of the Spirit of St. Louis, which was the plane that he flew. Now, he's also famous for his child got kidnapped. Okay, I don't know if you guys read that. I can't remember if it's in the book.
It's in a book called History's.
Well, yeah, right. And they tried to ransom. And make a long story short, it went to trial because they thought at one point that he might have orchestrated this whole thing, and became what is known as one of the trials of the century. So Dred Scott, that's a big one, right? O.J. Simpson. Haven't talked about him yet. Okay? But that one and another one I'm going to talk about it was like reality TV back then. Everybody wanted to see what was going on with Charles Lindbergh's case and their kids, and they would go watch it and stuff like that. You had your hand up?
Yeah, you would not believe how many people actually sent Charles Lindbergh ransom notes.
I know.
Any connection is trying money from him.
People, you ever see the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson, I think? It's really good. You ever see Taken?
Yes.
With, what's his face? Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
And there's Taken 2 now, too. And actually, I like this movie. So, but it's similar, but there's just not a big trial, Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about on this page is, I almost forgot to do this first hour, is the Monkey Scopes trial. It's not on your packet, but it should be on one of the PowerPoints online. If you go to my website, I screwed up and I put the same PowerPoint on there twice. My fault. I need to fix that. But I think it's on Emoto. Anyway, who can tell me what the Monkey Scopes trial was? If not, I can go ahead.
It was Darwinism versus creationism.
Darwinism versus creationism. What's another word for Darwinism?
Evolution.
Evolution. I'm curious, how many of you guys have learned about evolution in your science classes here in Centerline? Okay. I'm not going to count this because I may get somebody in trouble. Just kidding. Okay. So in the 1920s, very religious kind of stuff going on. Lots of people were religious, Christian, and in a lot of people's minds, evolution goes against creationism. Because if you believe in creationism, God created the world. If you look at any major religion, it's the same thing, right? So evolution, what's the premise of evolution in the basic terms?
Traits are passed down generation to generation or favored depending on the
Survival of the
environment.
fittest.
Okay, so adaptation, all that stuff, but stemming from what animal humans came from?
Bacteria.
From monkeys or primates, okay. If you look at evolution, okay, I've actually done a little research on this, and you got people that are really crazy, you know, on the creation theory, and then there's diehard evolutionists. But if you look at the two theories together, if you want to call them theories, they're pretty much the same thing. And I can explain it to you in another lesson. But anyway, a science teacher in Tennessee was teaching evolution to his kids. That's faux pas. Can't do that. Illegal. So just like when, you know, people are like, well, you can't teach religion, Mr. Bells. Yes, I can. I can't preach religion. I can teach religion. You need to know about it, right? All of them. So anyway, he was teaching it, he got in trouble, and make a long story short, he went to court. He was going to fight it. Went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And there's a guy named Clarence Darrow. And then, you guys, who was the guy that lost the election of 1896? Williams Jennings Bryan. Williams Jennings Bryan was the other famous lawyer in this trial. And this was just like before. Everybody came to watch. It was a huge, huge, you know, entertainment thing for everybody. But in the end, what happened? Who won out? Think of the times. The whole idea of not being able to teach evolution in school. Okay? And so technically, if you want to say that was a win for the creationists, technically it was. But really, in reality, it was just saying, okay, you cannot teach this in school. So, and we can argue all day long about separation of church and state, and we could have a really good discussion on this. But so basically, he had to pay a fine of like $100, and I don't think he ever got his job back or whatever. But anyway, it opened the door to discussing evolution. Even today, it's kind of one of those faux pas things to talk about. You know, people, you know, what are the things you're not supposed to talk about
Religion.
in life? Religion, politics, you know. And what?
At a dinner party, you're not supposed to
Exactly.
talk about religion and politics.
Exactly. So, okay, do you guys have any questions on that? No? Go ahead and shut up.